Good afternoon, Ollie.
Good afternoon, Ryan.
How are we doing today?
Oh, good.
Good.
I can tell that you're feeling better now that you've pushed that button.
I've got the toy. We're good to go. We've got a bit of air horn happening. And then, you know, when you say something controversial today, bit of record scratch. And the crickets just want to pipe up themselves whenever they feel like it. So I'm not sure what goes there. No, but that's good. Bit of fun.
Yeah. Always fun, especially when we talk about sales automation. Like, I know it sounds boring to a few people, but we're very excited about it.
It's just such a, I guess it's such low-hanging fruit for so many businesses. And it's really just about making sure that you've got more time to do the human side.
Yeah, that's it. Shall we get into it?
Well, we are waiting for a couple more people to jump on. So we've only had, we've given them 1 minute so far. So we might give them a couple more minutes.
I'm very excited to get started.
Yeah, you're not subtle about that at all, are you, mate? Maybe while we're waiting, what's your favourite HubSpot update from the last month?
Oh, there's been so many. That's a good question.
I think I just heard Damesh he heard that from America and he's just pleased.
Let me think. I think definitely what they've done with, well, it's, let's say the potential that I'm most excited about is what they've done with users and how like users can now trigger workflows. I'm very excited about what that will turn into because we've discussed that, you and I, before, is HubSpot doesn't have something, for example, if I'm sick for a week and we've got all of those workflows that are based on me doing things or me being assigned things, at the moment HubSpot doesn't have anything to change those workflows so that everything that I should be doing goes to someone else, and especially if someone leaves the business as well. To me, it's see a lot of potential in that. So they've started to work on that and to turn users into actual objects in the platform. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I mean, I've seen some of the complicated stuff in things like ClickUp, where somebody's assigned and automatically changes all the assignments based on their leave. So that's pretty exciting. And
especially if I would believe that HubSpot would have the potential to link to your calendar. So let's say if you've got a couple of days of leave booked, then we could have a workflow that actually goes, hey, Ryan's not here, so everything that should be assigned to him can go to someone else.
That's a good idea.
So, yeah. Fingers crossed. So,
I reckon mine, like, is a controversial take, mate, but the new interface.
Yeah.
It's taken a little while, but I'm digging it.
Yeah, I like it. My big problem with it is that, well, not many people will be able to relate, but when you're an agency and they rolled that out little by little and you had half your customers on the new one and half on the other one, that's what I did not dig.
Yeah, and you know, we do Google Ads consulting here, so we work with a few clients where they run their own ad accounts and we give them a hand, and you jump on a call and you discover that their ad account has the button in a different spot.
Yeah.
It's like, that's really helpful.
Happened to me at a training session where I had no idea. I was supposed to be the expert and I had no idea they were bringing that new layout, so that was fun.
It's not even the layout. We had one where it was the new layout and we had the new layout, but the buttons were in different spots anyway. Okay, thanks for doing some testing. That's an interesting take. Oh well, that's filled some time while we wait for some people to come on board. So, air horn, let's go, buddy.
Let's get started on sales automation then. All right. Especially using HubSpot to leverage, improve
it is a HubSpot user group, so it'd be a bit silly if we didn't use HubSpot.
So to get started, what exactly is sales automation? It's basically, this is kind of my own definition. It's any tool, software, or system that automates, surprise, manual and time-consuming tasks to build more positive customer journeys. So the objective of it is to increase productivity and the performance of your team, to accelerate the sales process and to make sure that good leads don't fall through the cracks, to help you identify those leads in your pipeline and to show you what to focus on more easily, to keep your data consistent and accurate, and overall to increase customer satisfaction, because if you get rid of all those stuff that is time consuming and boring and you can focus a bit more on the human side, as you said, then you generally tend to increase customer satisfaction because you're taking more time to actually take care of them.
I think the thing that gets overlooked here is you can increase sales rep satisfaction as well.
Yeah, true.
And, that might not be your highest priority, but we've done a HubSpot training with clients where some of their team have come from a Salesforce. Are we allowed to? Okay. They're like, come from Salesforce running businesses, and they're like, do you realise that what you just showed me in HubSpot will save me a day a week? Cool. So all of a sudden they get a bit more engaged in getting the paperwork into the system, because very few people like more paperwork.
Yeah, true.
So if we can increase customer satisfaction and rep satisfaction,
then everyone is happy.
Yeah.
So what does automation look like in HubSpot? Well, workflows, but not only workflows. So we've got as well playbooks, which are very important and something that you are quite fond of. Templates, snippets, and sequences. We've got meetings that have been getting a lot of love lately in HubSpot, and we love it. The Commerce Hub tools, all your invoices, quotes, things like that. And of course, integrations. One of the great things with HubSpot is that when you can't do something, generally there's an integration that can do it, and you can do a lot to automate things with integrations. Before we start, just remember that, and I know that's probably going to be the kettle, but less is more. Automating things is great, but people don't like robots or don't like to interact with robots too much, and too much automation will basically do the opposite of what you're trying to achieve. It will hurt your conversion rates, your reputation, because if Ryan is on my pipeline and I've got 10 different nurture flows and he receives an automated email every 20 minutes, I'm sure Ryan won't like that too much. So it's
where is the unsubscribe button, Ollie?
Yeah. So it's important to focus on the things that's going to give you the best results, and to automate the most useful and the most boring stuff, really. The most repetitive tasks without making you lose the human touch. So, what and how to automate in HubSpot? So, workflows are probably your first go to automate things in HubSpot, and there's quite a few basics. So firstly, your contact, deal, and ticket creation. We find that we still have a lot of customers that create deals and tickets, especially manually, when having systems to either create them automatically when there's a trigger. So for a deal, that would be a lead is good enough, or a lead does something, then you create a deal automatically instead of having your sales rep create them manually. And tickets, it's generally your customers create them themselves. So that would, well, I'm not going to go too much into tickets because we're into sales automation. But in terms of deal, it's very important. If you've got a lead that's warm enough, you then create a deal and it's done automatically. There's also object attribution, so either contacts, leads, because HubSpot has got the new lead object, or deals. So it can be anything, but it's great to have some automation on, let's say, Ryan is based in South Australia. Every deal in South Australia should be assigned to me. So as soon as a deal is created and we know it's in South Australia, it goes automatically to me, and we can have a lot of property. You can make it as complicated as you like. But yeah, to make sure that your deals and leads are assigned to the appropriate person. Automatically edit records if they meet a certain criteria. So that would be your deal stage, so moving your deals across the pipeline. We'll go through that in a second. There's also the life cycle stage for your contacts, which is a pretty classic one, but there's also a lot of opportunity there to, if property A equals something and property B equals another thing, then you can update property C and have stuff on the back of that. There's also a lot that you can automate in terms of lead scoring. So HubSpot has got a great lead score property that you can set up yourself and basically give points to your leads depending on what they've done or depending on who they are. So let's say if you're targeting businesses that have 200 plus employees, you can, if a company comes into your pipeline and they've got 500 employees, will probably give a few more points than if they had 10 employees. So things like that. And again, you can get as complicated as you'd like. You can take away points depending on things that happen. And it also includes how they interact with your business. So if you've got a lead in your pipeline and you send them 10 sales emails, but they open none of them, that's probably a bad sign. So then you can deduct points in your lead score and focus on the leads that are a little bit warmer. We've got, of course, email automation. So you can automate marketing and sales emails. So that's your nurture flows. That's especially important for leads that stall at a specific stage. So we'll go through it as well on a dummy pipeline that we've got. And reminders and tasks as well. You're right? Just getting very excited.
Yeah, I'm so excited about automating sales processes.
So let's go on our dummy pipeline for a second. So let's say you can see I haven't put any deals in there, but that's our awesome sales pipeline. And it would be a pretty typical pipeline. We've got an opportunity identified stage, then people book a call, exploratory call, then let's say we've got a presentation of our service or product, then we prepare a proposal for them, then the proposal is sent, and then either the proposal goes somewhere and we've won, or we lose the deal.
Can I just say, like, this is probably one of the areas we find that is misunderstood and people freak out about when they start adopting HubSpot, even if they're on the free tools.
Yep.
It's like, this is not necessarily your final sales process.
Yep.
You can customize those stages, and then people go, but I have no idea what to put there. It's like, just start with what you do.
Yeah,
but you have a sales process, you just don't, like, all of your sales reps will have a sales process, depending on how big your business is. Just start documenting it.
Yeah. And it's a very important part of sales automation is that you're trying something and things are going to evolve over time. Absolutely. So it's, you start simple if needed, but have something there and then develop it over time. Our sales pipeline's probably changed quite a bit over the years, depending on what happens and not too much.
The automation has, but the pipeline itself hasn't changed much. It's good.
But yeah, let's say like in here, in our dummy pipeline, in terms of automation that we could create opportunity identified. So that could be created automatically from either the lead score, for example. So as soon as we've got a lead that we're working on and that lead score hits a certain target, then we set a workflow that will automatically create a deal. It could be someone submits a form somewhere. It could be really anything, or if you send cold emails and the person responds, then we might say that's an opportunity worth having a deal on the pipeline. Then here that would be pretty simple. If they book an exploratory call, so we'd probably set it up as a meeting in HubSpot, and as soon as that meeting is booked, then we drag the deal across the pipeline. We'll find that there's a lot of people who have Sales Pro or above on HubSpot that don't use that enough. The deal stage updates, the automatic deal stage updates, and still drag the deals manually. That can save you a lot of time, especially if you've got, I don't know, 200 deals on your pipeline at a specific time. If every time someone books a call, you drag those deals manually, you're losing a lot of time. And that's something that can be pretty easily set up. In terms of presentation scheduled, that would be the same. So we could, as soon as the presentation is scheduled, so we could have 2 different meetings, one for the exploratory call, one for the presentation, and depending on which meeting they book, it goes to the appropriate stage. Then in terms of preparing proposal, we actually have a stage like that, which if nothing is done after a few days and the deals are stuck in that stage, we get reminders to work on the proposal and to make sure it's sent to the client. And we've got an integration that will possibly go through after, but as soon as we send the proposal to the client, then it moves to proposal sent.
But we've also, one thing that, because sometimes I demo our pipeline with prospects.
Yep.
And people don't think about the conditional updates, field
Yep.
updates as you go in.
Yep.
So when we're preparing our proposal, we've got a little thing that pops up that says, we need 3 pieces of information. We need the information about the client's challenge. We need some information about their the solution and their payment options. And those 3 things then automatically get added to our proposals as well.
Yep.
Nice and easy.
Yeah. Yeah, and one simple one as well, especially if you use HubSpot quotes, is to have the products. So if you've got your products set up in HubSpot, then it's so easy to create a quote and choose your products. And then if, like us, you've got an integration like that, they can go straight into the proposal as well. Of course, you can set up something so that as soon as the proposal, like a HubSpot quote or a proposal is signed, then it goes to closed won. And let's say for closed loss, you can have something that if a proposal has been sent, 30 days ago, it's probably not going to get signed by this stage, and you followed up a couple of times, then it can move automatically to the closed loss stage. So that was for the basics with workflows. I'll just put back in the slideshow. The second important tool is playbooks. So playbooks, for those who have never used them, they basically help you create standardized notes and data and make sure that you don't forget anything important whilst you interact with your prospects or customers. So you can use that for your discovery call, for the qualification process to make sure that you ask the right questions to qualify your leads, for reviews, for your onboarding calls or your onboarding process, for offboarding as well. So plenty of opportunities to use that. It can also work for tickets. So if you've got an issue, if a customer has got an issue, just so you know what questions to ask about that particular issue. And where it gets very, very powerful is if you're lucky enough to be on Sales Enterprise, you can update properties straight from the playbook. And that's very powerful because if you ask the right questions, it gets automatically, it updates your record automatically, and then you've got some automation on the back of that. Then let's say I can qualify automatically my lead just on that call by using the playbook.
One thing I find, there's a bit of confusion about the playbooks. So the playbooks can be a script for your call if you want them to be, but they absolutely don't have to be. I feel like these are really useful for, if you're having a discovery call with somebody, you can get excited and get carried away and forget to get all the information you need. So having that list in front of you is like, I've got to get this information to be able to help this person get to the next stage. I think that's where they really come into their own. Discovery calls, qualification reviews, onboarding, welcome emails, briefing, all those kind of things, and then using them consistently between the sales and the support side, they just become a lot more about what your team is.
It's also, and in terms, it standardizes as well, because everyone's got all your sales reps will have their way of doing things, and if you make sure that the data is basically imported or is put in as standardized as possible, then it makes everything easier, like between the sales process itself, but also the reporting and things like that. Yep. So if we go through our playbook list, so that might not be the best example, but let's have a look at, this is a playbook that we've created for an initial meeting. So you can see that there's something about when to use the playbook, and then little reminders of what to do before the call. And then these are the questions that we'd ask. And you can see if I was on a call, I can just ask the questions and then I'll input the answer. So the answer can be input as notes, but see here, for example, this would update the contact property, which is the job title. So if I input there in the call, it will automatically update that contact's job title property. And we can have something on the back of that if that job title is CEO, then the decision maker is brought in, bam, we create a deal from that, for example. So they're very powerful, especially if you're on enterprise. And we've got all of our questions here. The services required for us is pretty important, obviously. So we ask all of those questions. So it can be, as Ryan said, it can be, you can follow it step by step and have absolutely everything, your call, like the way you're going to lead your call, it can just be a bunch of questions. You can personalize them as well, so that's useful, especially if you use them as a template to go through the call. You can use the contact's first name in there, or company properties, so that you know a little bit more about the company when you use this. So again, the company size, employee size might be important, so you might want to have it in there whilst you go through the call.
Yep.
I might stop for a second and see if we've got any questions so far.
Good question, Ollie. No questions just yet, but if you have got any questions, put them into the chat and Ollie and I can make sure we answer them. I have a question, Ollie.
Yes.
Why haven't you set up playbooks to update properties yet?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to put that on my list.
You might have some homework coming out of this hug.
Next tools, I was going to say next tool, but because I consider them kind of linked, but is templates, snippets, and sequences. So we found that they're very quick wins, and generally it's very easy to set a few up, and it makes a difference. So it's pretty simple. You analyze what you're doing, what your sales reps are doing, and not only sales reps, just the whole company really. You gather the emails or little bits of content that you repetitively send to your leads or customers, and you set them up as templates and snippets. So if we go through a few, so they are here.
I like to think it's basic stuff like what's your bank details to transfer, what's your address. You can look those kind of things up, or you can just have them in a snippet that you can drop in.
So the difference is that templates are basically full emails that before you send, you can customize a little bit. So they look like this. So you can put personalization in there, which makes them quite powerful and useful. So you can see here that I've got an email that's going to pull the first name of the person, it's going to pull the company name, and you can put any kind of property, and it just puts a meeting link in there. So just to, so it's for testimonial requests. So if I want to request a testimonial for someone, I can just go in my contact record, pull that template up. If I want to update a couple of lines because they're not relevant, I can do it, and then click send, and I'm done. Instead of copying and pasting a previous email, spending about an hour trying to find that email, or recreate that email, rewrite it, I can just use that template, change a couple of things, and just send it. The good thing as well is that those you can as well put your signature in them, so you'll pull your signature in there. That's especially good as well if you're using the HubSpot inbox. So it'll pull. You can set it so that it pulls the contact owner's signature in there.
But I mean, these we use. So we use Google Workspace. Yep. So what it's called this week?
Yes, this week.
Google Workspace, Google Apps, G Suite. Yep.
Yeah.
So we use Google.
Yeah.
And the HubSpot add-on for Google will let you drop that into your email and retain your email signature anyway. Yeah. So you really only need the signature in there if you're going to send it through HubSpot.
Yeah. And we also have the snippets. As you were saying, the snippets are just little bits of text that you might use repetitively, but not in a full email. So you can see, for example, we've got a few here that are just for payment terms. So if I want to confirm, whether in an email that the payment terms for that specific project will be like that, instead of writing them, I just select my snippet, drop it in the email that I've started to create. You have shortcuts as well for your snippets. So if in my email I type #50 deposit, it will use that snippet straight away. So that's...
And these snippets can be used in quotes.
Yep.
They can be used in emails. They can be used in live chat. They can be used in tickets. They can be used basically everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
So, it just allows you to maintain that consistency and get the information where it needs to go.
And finally, we've got sequences. So sequences are a bit different. So they're basically a tool that allow you to automate your follow-ups. So they're especially useful if a deal or a lead gets a little bit cold, and you feel like you need to follow up. So the way they work is that you can set steps for your sequence, like this, for example. So you've got email, you can send a connection request on LinkedIn, and as soon as your contact does an action, so answers your email or accepts your connection request, as soon as something happens, they drop out of the sequence. So in this case, let's say, well, that wasn't a follow-up one, that was an introduction one. They're pretty good as well for cold outreach. So we've got a first email. If someone answered to that email straight away, then the other steps wouldn't happen. And if they don't answer to that first email, then we've got the second step that will trigger, let's say, a couple of days later, and then the third step. And as soon as something happens, they'll just fall off. So it's very good if you've got cold leads that you need to follow up. Instead of sending the emails yourself, you can set them up in that sequence, enroll the contact in the sequence, which you can do automatically through a workflow as well. And you're good to go. No questions so far, Ryan?
No questions so far.
Smashing it. All right, one that we're pretty excited about because it's been getting a bit of love is meetings. So you've got a lot of opportunities for automation around meetings. So you can send a meeting link on reaching a specific deal stage, for example, or lead status or whatever. You can move to a stage when a meeting is booked. You can send reminders, you can create tasks in HubSpot to prepare for the meeting. I've written reminders twice. That's how important it is to be reminded of stuff.
Good to be reminded.
You can also have nurturing. So if someone, someone booked a meeting and a meeting was happening on a specific date, you can have automated follow-ups, as in the day after it sends an automated email that says, thank you for
meeting with me?
Yeah, for meeting with me. And if you were using a playbook, you could even use that to summarize the meeting and use the key points of that meeting in your automated email. It can assign, when I say assign those meetings based on properties is you could have an email, for example, that sends a meeting link to a lead, but depending on where they are, or like I used the example of South Australia leads should go to me, we could have something that email sends my meeting link if the lead is in South Australia, but it sends a meeting link for Ryan to book with Ryan if he was anywhere else in Australia. And one that we were pretty impressed with is now you can collect payments from meetings. So an example, we don't use that because we have free audits for HubSpot. If you want your HubSpot portal audited, we'll give you the link. But let's say we provide a service where we audit your HubSpot portal for $500. We can have a meeting that people can book a meeting with me. People can book a meeting, and as they book the meeting, they have to pay the $500, and then it's done. So we'll go through that.
We've used that. There was an old beta of payment links 3 or 4 years ago, and we used to use that a bit for coaching calls and things like that. So you had to make the payment before you could get access to the meeting link in that circumstance.
Yep.
Whereas now it's all the one flow, which is much better.
So let's say, I've got a client meeting here. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do nowadays in there. Like you've got all your scheduling that can be different. And again, that's very useful if you need different kinds of meetings. I know I use, depending on the meeting, the type of meeting, I use as a different, how do you call it? A different lead time for the meeting. So if that's a meeting where I'm going to present something, I probably don't want people to be able to book it for tomorrow because that's not going to give me a lot of time. So I give myself a week so people can book me in a week's time onwards. But if it's a client meeting where I've got an issue I need to urgently meet, then they can book me even today. And so to collect payments, you just trigger this, or if you've got your payments all sorted out in HubSpot, it's as easy as that. So before they confirm the meeting with you, they'll have to pay.
Huge one for consultants.
Yeah.
Huge one for coaches. And a lot of that stuff is potentially small stuff that's just helpful if you can automate that process.
So speaking of payments, we've got all of the Commerce Hub tools. So again, that's if you're on Pro or above, you can automate a lot of that. So if you use HubSpot quotes, you can move a deal across the pipeline as we went through earlier. If a quote is created, if a quote is sent, when a quote is signed, you can move it to closed won. You can update
which is awesome.
Yes.
Because as we were talking about this morning, that used to be an enterprise-only feature. Way better if it's on Pro.
Yeah.
Quote-based workflows, super useful.
Yeah. You've got invoice-based workflows now. You've got payment-based, subscription-based. So subscription, so they're quite a newish thing. But yeah, and order-based workflows also. There's a lot of stuff that you can do in there, especially useful as well for the order ones or invoice ones are very useful if you're e-commerce and you use HubSpot as your payment platform. So if you're on Commerce Hub, that's there's a lot of automation that you can do there. All right, a big one as well. So in terms of integration, we might go through a couple, but you can use integration to automate a lot of stuff. So in terms of prospecting and lead capture, so there's quite a lot of options there. In terms of invoicing and payments as well, so there's a lot of payment systems like Xero that can be integrated in HubSpot. So you link your invoices in HubSpot, so they come straight into HubSpot, and you can have some automation on the back of that. So let's say, I don't know, we had a monthly subscription and an invoice was missed, then we can have an alert in HubSpot or something happening with a deal in HubSpot that triggers on the back of that. Obviously, if an invoice is paid as well, we can trigger something. A lot of opportunities as well with calling, so a call system like Cradle, Aircall, you can set your integration up and you can have a lot of automation that you can trigger through there. And of course, proposals, we've talked about that quite a bit, is that if you're using something external from HubSpot to create proposals, so for us, we use HubSpot Quotes for existing clients with little projects, but for big projects, we use Quilla, and we integrate that with HubSpot, and we've got automation that when a Quilla proposal is signed, it goes to closed won.
One thing to mention just on the invoicing and the payments, because people might have missed this, but there have been some updates to the Xero integration.
Yep.
So if you've had it connected for a while, you probably want to check to make sure that it's still the current integration. So if you just go to the marketplace and make sure you've got the right Xero integration, and then maybe Ollie, if you want to quickly go into the settings where the integrations are and just see whether there's any updates. Because the integrations option in the settings is going to tell you whether there are any updates that you need to accept. There you go. So you'll see it's actually got an alerts tab. So if you click on the alerts tab, you can see if anything needs to be updated. So it'll show a little, under all apps, it'll show a little red dot if it needs an update. And this doesn't happen very often, but it's worth just keeping an eye on because the old version of the Xero integration didn't support a lot of the things they're doing now.
So is there any integration you'd like to go through specifically? One that you're excited about?
I mean, for sales enablement, the thing that I get the most excited about is linking them all together, linking all the data into one place. So getting your calling into HubSpot, so your calls are recorded and annotated, getting your digital note taker to put that data into HubSpot, I think that's really useful because you can do a lot if the data is in there. To be honest, one of my favourite sales add-ons isn't available anymore because it got bought by somebody. But the HubSpot playbooks have come a long way. Yeah. But there was a tool called Costello a few years ago where they were significantly more sophisticated with branching and things like that. So it's worth pointing out that the HubSpot solution will probably do 90 to 95% of what most people need. But there are other solutions on the market that just really specialise and narrow into what you need to do there. But from a sales perspective, there's so many different ones that you can put in place. Think about your pain points in your sales process before you start gluing things in.
There's one that people often forget, but ChatSpot, because if you've got HubSpot, that's pretty much you've got ChatSpot. So it's pretty useful.
It's in there.
Yeah, if I didn't say we forgot it,
Okay.
but it's pretty useful if you want to look quickly for data about the company. For example, it can just automate the research for you a little bit. I think like it's a pretty quick win given that you get it pretty much off the bat.
Yep.
But yeah, there's plenty of different integrations that you can use just to make things more efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see we've got a lot here, and part of the reason for that is we like to experiment, and we like to use our own account as the experiment platform. But you'll also see if we run events, there's the Eventbrite integration, the LinkedIn CRM sync we've set up now. We haven't even talked about that yet, but that's a thing now. So there's a lot of different tools there that you can use. We've been using HubSpot for probably a bit over 5 years now.
Yeah.
So you'll find that the number of integrations you use grows over time. Integrations are probably a really misunderstood part of HubSpot because people are like, well, HubSpot should provide all this functionality and we should just use it in HubSpot. But some of these plugins add functionality HubSpot doesn't have. Some of them will help you get an outcome that you wouldn't otherwise be able to achieve. So I think it's just worth remembering that HubSpot have done a really good job of building this platform that does a lot of things, but it doesn't necessarily do everything. And the fact that they make it as easy as they do to connect stuff like this is really powerful and where the real benefit is.
One that we haven't talked about is Slack, and like you can connect.
Have you been Slack talking about Slack? Have you?
Or Teams? It's pretty useful.
Let's not
just
talk
to
about
get
Teams.
just to get notifications and things like that. So again, there's plenty of automation that you can use in terms of deals and tickets. Slack especially I like now with tickets because you can update a ticket straight in from Slack, and you can get your alerts. So when a deal is won, you get a notification in Slack. Your notification could go to whoever is going to onboard that client, for example. There's plenty that you can do in there.
There was one we used to use called Arena, and that was cool because it actually sent a message around and it was like, yay, a deal closed. And I think you've got to celebrate those wins sometimes, and we've got a couple set up where we have a team wins channel, and when a deal's closed won, it automatically messages the team wins channel and says, hey, this deal's been closed won, good job. And it automatically creates the task in the finance channel for finance to raise the invoice. It's fun.
Yeah. All right. So after everything that we've been going through, one common question usually is, how do I get started with all of this? So it's pretty simple in theory. Just look at your current processes, look at what you're doing now, look at what your sales process is, and again, we repeat it, like it starts somewhere. You don't want to necessarily change what you're doing. It's just about trying to make it better over time. So look at what your current process is, look at what your basically the stages in your sales process are, and try to identify what's working and what's not working, especially what's not working, where are your pain points, your main pain points.
If you really don't have any ideas about your sales process, just try the HubSpot one and see whether it works for you, and then you'll find things that you need to massage over time. But if as a business your sales function isn't quite there yet, then the HubSpot setup is reasonably good from a starting point.
look as well, how does a contact, deal, or ticket get to a specific stage, and could that be automated? Same thing when a deal enters a specific stage, what needs to happen at that stage? Could that be automated? What are the possible outcomes and progressions? You know, when you send a proposal, what should happen? You probably want a couple of follow-ups if you don't hear anything about the proposal, and obviously the outcomes and progressions is the proposal is signed, so all good, it goes to closed one, so that can be automated. The deal is, the proposal is not accepted, then it's probably a closed loss, or the deal stalls a little bit, so then maybe we have a nurture flow, or we re-update the proposal, or things like that.
But like, there are some sales processes people have that it takes 6 to 9 months to get that proposal closed one. There are others that take a couple of weeks. So again, like it's down to your process. And one of the good things about being able to run separate pipelines in HubSpot is if you have competing customers with competing products, with competing buying cycles, create different pipelines so you can automate them. It's okay to have a pipeline for tenders, a pipeline for product X that we know takes 12 months of assessment, and a pipeline for product Y that we know people will just buy every day, and quicker we ship it out, the quicker they'll buy it.
Yeah, because they're different processes. So have one thing per process. Also, what information is important at each stage? What information should be gathered? So you touched on it, is that you can set properties that a deal cannot be moved to a certain stage if you don't have those properties, or the other way, you can have it the other way around, is that once you know enough information and have a specific set of properties filled, then the deal can go to a specific stage. What materials are required? So, if you need workflows to create your automation, if you need your specific properties, if you need an integration, so have a look at that, set your plan up, and
I do love that. It's like we can't automate that because we don't have this piece of information. Why can't we get that piece of information? Why can't we put that on the record? Oh, I guess we could. Yeah, we could. Let's do it.
And so you start building from there. So again, try to focus on the quick wins and major bottlenecks first. So the stuff that is going to save you the most time or effort or pain and suffering. And take your time, like chip away at it. You don't have to automate absolutely everything from the get-go. And to be honest, that's probably not the way we go at it. Is to try a few different things, focus on one stage, for example, see if that works, and if that works, you can maybe improve it even more, or then work on another stage. Test before you make live changes. I'm talking from experience. Get feedback from your team as well, especially if the person setting the automations up is not the person that is going to use that automation. It's good to get feedback from your team or to get their ideas, because if you've got 10 different sales reps and they all do their things quite differently, then when you put all of it together, you might get some very good ideas from all of them. And just keep building on your automation. It's important to review what you've built and to try and improve it from time to time. Some stuff is going to work, some stuff is not going to work so well, then you can always improve on it.
It's okay, sometimes the things that don't work very well are the ones that gives you the best ideas.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I think that's about it. So thank you for listening. I hope you were as excited as us, and I'll check if we've got any questions.
So the only question we've got here is around digital note-taking integrations.
Okay.
Do we have any recommendations for digital note-taking integrations?
Oh, I'd
I
say.
have about 18.
Yeah.
So,
I'll let you answer that.
do you know? You go. What do you got?
No, it's there's so many. What would be your recommended ones?
Well, I mean, I've famously had like 3 or 4
Yes, on
different note-taking apps joining my calls, so that often gets a good conversation.
and I've started actually using Sibyl
Yes,
lately,
I
and
noticed that. It's good.
I quite like it.
So we are using one at the moment called Sybil, which is, I will drop this link in the chat, SY Bill. And I think one of the things that I like about Sybil is it gives me an abstract straight after the meeting on what was said, what the sentiment was, and then what are the actions that were agreed from the meeting. So I find that really useful. Those notes go on the contact record, so they're searchable in HubSpot. I know exactly what happened in every meeting. I know there are others that do something very similar. I think Read.ai and a couple others do some of that. One thing I don't think I've talked to you about yet. We're getting it all out today, Ollie.
More on that.
Some of these will actually integrate with your project management system.
Yep.
So if you have a meeting and you discuss a whole bunch of things that need to be done, and it knows that you're the person that needs to do those things, it could automatically create the tasks for you, which sounds really helpful, but I find that the devil's in the detail, and those systems aren't as good as finding which client that should be attributed to. We use Apollo for some of our sales data and some of our sales integration. Apollo has its own meeting recorder. So we used to use a couple others, and we got rid of those recently, centralised everything on Apollo. It's really nice having the recording and the transcription and everything in one place, but I don't think the notes are as good as Sybil.
Yep.
If you've only got a couple of users, Avoma is very good, and it's definitely been useful recording all of our calls in Avoma over the years. But we got rid of that in favour of using Apollo on Sybil. And even now, I think Sybil probably does everything that we need out of Apollo anyway. But I think you need to consider what else you want to connect into it, and of course how many users you've got, because some of them have better models for multiple users than others.
Thank you for that very comprehensive answer.
And it's, it's so funny, the different people I work with and the different groups that I meet with, and we've got Fathom and Read and Fireflies, and there's so many different ones that come up and everyone seems to have their favourite one and cling to their favourite one.
It's a bit like video calls.
It is a bit like video calls. I will not meet with you on Teams, but Teams does have the cool Halo backgrounds, and so that's kind of fun. I guess that's one benefit of meeting on Teams. Probably the only benefit of meeting on Teams sometimes. But yeah, really think about what you want from the platform, and the days of using platforms like Gong, where I know Gong is great, but it's crazy expensive, and you can get very similar functionality from things like Sybil for a fraction of the cost. So definitely have a look around and see what suits your stack. We don't have any other questions coming in at the moment, Ollie. Have you got any other questions or anything else you want to add?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
Do you have a question?
Why haven't we set up the...
Yes.
Yeah,
I should have
okay,
accepted that one.
All right, yep.
Yeah.
Well, you opened the door, buddy, so that's how it works.
No, that's a classic example of you need to keep on building on what you've got in there. So,
Why do I need to keep modifying HubSpot after I've had it set up? Because they bring out new stuff.
Yeah.
and they changed the functionality.
Yeah, actually, that's a good one though to remind you to have a look at the product updates in HubSpot, because a lot of that kind of stuff comes in as a beta first. So have a look regularly for the new stuff and play around with it, like that meetings. A lot of the meetings improvements lately. So now, like, when people book a meeting with you, they can add guests to come to the meeting with them.
Like
it's great. There's payments and a lot of that stuff.
Actually, and on those meeting improvements, if you haven't gone back into your old meeting links and turned on the ability for people to reschedule their own meetings, do that and it will change your life.
Yeah.
Like just people, it's interesting, people, when they first started having the meeting links, it's like, oh, it's such a power trip.
Yeah.
Just book into my calendar. But in actual fact, it just eliminates so much back and forth.
Yeah.
And most of our customers love the fact that they have the power because they can pick whatever time's available and not have to worry about whether it suits us or not.
Yeah, that's a great example of something that used to have a lot of back and forth and take a lot of time, and then in minutes it's done. Not even minutes.
No.
But yeah, check the product updates. There's really a lot of stuff coming every week, and some of the stuff that might be useful in your specific scenario for sales automation.
Absolutely. Spotlight. Check out Spotlight.
Yep.
All the new stuff that's been released, and get some ideas from there.
Yep.
Well, no more questions, Ollie. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. We'll wrap up on a good round of air horn. Thank you very much for taking us through all that today.
Oh, no worries.
Sorry that's resulted in some homework for you. But I think that's well deserved.
There's worse homework for me than this, so I won't complain.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you in a month, I think it is.
Yeah, I think so.
We're nice and quick this time, so in a month we'll catch up for our next one. So jump on there and enjoy.
All right.
Okay.
See ya.
See ya.